You've heard that when it comes to learning a new language, having a tutor and one-on-one lessons could actually really help. Or maybe you already have a tutor, but you cannot really see your progress. Well, if that is your case, this video is just for you. Bonjour tout le monde, I'm Cassie, your French tutor, so you can discover France the French way. And now is the perfect time to subscribe to the channel, give a like to this video if you are serious in learning French and discovering everything about French culture. After years of being a tutor myself and a student too, I want to share my experience with you so you can make the most of your tutoring lessons. Alors t'es prêt? On y va. I know that to have the perfect lesson with a tutor, well, it starts even before the lesson. It is with picking the right tutor for you. So first, you choose a platform. I would recommend italki or Preply, and actually if you want to try one of these two or both, there is a link in the description. So on these platforms, you can filter by price, but also the accents, which is extremely important. For French, for example, do you want to learn the Belgian way of speaking French, the French way of speaking French, maybe French Canadian? I don't know, but that depends on you. For example, somebody who wants to live in Canada will have no business working with me as their tutor, because I don't know anything about Québécois.
Hey, maudit hiver de cul à marde! En décembre, là, on trouve tout ça beau, hein, la première belle petite neige blanche qui tombe, c'est wouh!
So I would recommend they filter and find somebody who is from Québec.
Je m'appelle Geneviève Breton et j'aimerais être votre prof de français et de culture du Québec.
Then you can check their introduction video. Actually, I should update mine, I think, because yeah, it was from a few years ago. Let's hope other tutors, they update theirs more frequently. But check this video, see the feeling, you know, the vibe. Do you like how they express themselves or not? It's all about feelings, really. Then you check their calendar. Are they available at the same times as you are? Because if you check a profile, you really like the tutor, but they're never available when you are, well, see, there is no point in contacting them. Don't hesitate to ask questions. As a tutor myself, I really hate it when students book a trial lesson with me and they don't tell me anything. So I always contact them myself. But if they don't answer with their goals, who they are, what they expect from having lessons with me, I know it's not a good sign. So yeah, ask questions. Say everything you want to tell your tutor, even though it is maybe a bit oversharing, who cares? Because the more information they have, the better the lesson will be. And then you will probably book a trial lesson. Just start with a trial lesson or one lesson if you cannot have a trial, but you know, just to test the water and see how you feel. Be honest with yourself, with your tutor, if you feel comfortable or not. Also be honest about your level and about your expectations. Because one thing, well, the tutors, they're not in your mind. So if you don't say what you expect, they cannot deliver. It goes both ways. And especially at the beginning, feel free to say whatever you like or dislike. It is a good way for a tutor to understand what the student wants, but also what they will like in a lesson. I always ask the interest of my new students, because imagine I'm talking about politics and they hate it. Well, if they've told me before, I would know what they like or not. So do that with a new tutor. Feel free to do so. And if they think it's cringe, they probably shouldn't tutor at all. And sometimes, well, the tutor is an amazing one, but maybe their methods or, you know, the feeling is not the right one for you. And it's okay. It doesn't mean that person is a bad one. It doesn't mean that you are a bad student. It just means you're not a good match together. So continue to research your ideal tutor, because with someone you only feel half comfortable with, you know, you won't be as enthusiastic during your lessons and you won't commit on a long-term basis with them. Whereas with the perfect tutor, even though it takes a bit of time to find, well, it is worth it. Now, we are before the actual lesson. So I'm not talking about the trial. The trial is never really a lesson, because if you haven't discussed with the tutor, they don't really know what to teach you. So if they're trying to teach you something, it's nice, A for effort, but it won't really be a custom lesson. Except if you just want some practice, but then it's not really a lesson. Though the advice that will follow works also if you just want to practice a language without a lesson. Just, practice. So I would say, especially if you want to commit, pick a frequency in advance. What I recommend most of the time to my students is to have 1 lesson per week. A lot of tutors, they say that it is not enough. I agree, but it's sustainable. And good is better than perfect, because perfect doesn't last. Good? Yeah, it does. And that's by being consistent that you will actually see progress. Pick a frequency that works for you and commit to that. Maybe the same time every week, the same day, so it becomes a habit. And you know what I think about habits. Just here if you don't. Okay, so what I'm going to tell you now works for every lesson you're gonna have, not only the first one. Everyone. So I recommend that you actually review your notes from the previous lesson. So you remember what you talked about, you remember what you've learned, so you can use it and practice it in the following lesson. That's important, otherwise you will never remember it. By practicing, you engrave it in your brain. And when you review your lesson, maybe there are things that you actually don't really understand, and it's okay, but write down your questions. So the questions you have and you want to ask your tutor, you should ask them. You should ask your tutor. So write them down. What I have is a document that I'm sharing online with my students so they can, write down their questions, and then I have time to prepare the answer. Because sometimes we just don't know the answer and it's absolutely fine, but then I can provide my students with the best answer possible, or at least the most in-depth. And of course, if you have homeworks, make sure they're done. If your tutor gave you homework, well, one thing, if you know that your schedule is too tight and you won't have time to do homework, be honest with your tutor about it too. I always ask my students if they want homeworks or not, and I tell them it is not mandatory, of course, because I'm not gonna go to your place and make sure that you've done your homework. But if you say that it would be okay, then I'm kind of counting on it to build the next lesson. And something I think it is my last technique, at least the last one I developed, this one mostly as a student, is prepare a bit of vocabulary that you want to practice during the lesson. So don't, come in the lesson and say, oh, I want to practice this and that. No. You will probably have a bit of talking, even though you're a beginner. I know that I always do that. I start with 1 minute of practice, and then 5, and then, more and more. I increase the time with the vocabulary that increases too. So during that time of practice, and maybe you only have practice sessions, and that's fine, but no matter what your level or the type of session, you will have time to actually speak, right? I mean, that's the purpose. So prepare a few words that are relevant to what you want to talk about. So for example, I don't know, at the end of a lesson we can say, okay, next time we're going to talk about whatever, newspapers, who knows. What I do is I mostly ask about, how's life? How was your weekend? How's your week? Because then you're always talking about things that matter to the student. And these are the words that are important for you as a student to learn, things that really matter, that are part of your everyday life. And well, the tutor, he cannot guess everything that you would need to express yourself on a daily basis. So research these words and try to use them. And if it is not the best option, your tutor will tell you. But then you will remember way easier. Now comes the lesson, really the lessons. You're not before, you're not preparing anything, it is happening. Be engaged. You need to talk. You cannot just listen to what the tutor is saying and not say anything. So if you have questions, ask. If you want to practice, practice. Happens a lot that I'm explaining something and my students, they try to make sentences with what I'm explaining, and that is the best case scenario, at least for a tutor. So ask questions, make sure you understand everything before the end of the class. It is very important. Even though you may not remember everything, at least you understand the logic. So when you review all your notes, you understand what it is about. And if you don't understand everything, it's fine. Your tutor is here to help you and explain again. That's why you're having one-on-one lesson, right? Also, keep in mind that the tutor is not here to judge you. I mean, they know you're not speaking the language, otherwise you wouldn't need them. And trust me, we want students to continue having lessons with us, otherwise we're jobless. So it is a good thing, and take your time, it's fine. There is no rush. If a tutor is, pushing you to say something, just maybe it's a red flag. But I'm pretty sure nobody will do that, come on. So you're here to make mistakes because that's how you remember easier. And even though it is a very vulnerable position, I know that. And when you make a mistake, you don't feel comfortable, of course. Maybe even a bit ashamed. At least I know I had that feeling before. But it's okay, you're in a safe place. That's why you're only with one tutor and nobody else can hear you. And again, as tutor, we're used to mistakes. Actually, it's also good for us because most of the time, you're not the only one making the mistakes. So when we hear several students making the same mistake, we know that we need to make it clearer. We need to explain it better. Maybe we need to insist a bit more on it. So it's also good for us as teachers. So yeah, take your time, but try to talk as much as possible. So you practice and ask questions, really. Maybe seek feedback. You can ask your tutor, like, what do you think? How do you think I'm doing? Am I improving? Are there different topics or points that I need to insist on? Ask. Oh, and I almost forgot. Take notes. Sometimes you can even say, yeah, slow down, please. I'm writing that down. Usually I'm taking the notes for my students, so, they only focus on speaking, which is hard enough. But if your tutor is not doing that, just, do it. Take notes, anything you need. Make sure that you have a way to review it later and remember it. That's important. So after the lesson, maybe not straight after, though I would recommend it, but that depends on your schedule, of course. Organize your notes. So make sure that when you review it, it makes sense. It's also a good time to read everything again. I know that for me, who remembers way better when I read something, it is perfect because, after an hour speaking and having to listen to someone, I may get confused or forget a few things. When it is written down and I read it again, that's when I start to remember. So organize your notes, but also research everything that was a bit difficult for you, or maybe things that you're curious about. During the lesson, you learned about comparisons, but maybe you only say plus que, so more than. Okay, but after the lesson, maybe you wonder, how do you say less than? And there'll be moins que, but then you can research it. And maybe next time you can question your tutor about it, and that's how you learn again. That's how you improve. And if your tutor gave you more resources, or I do that a lot with my students, I give them like extra resources or extra links so they have another point of view on a topic that we talked about during the lesson. Just use that. Make sure that you read everything, you listen to everything, you watch everything, So use all the resources your tutor can give you, and during the week or before the next lesson, try to use the new vocabulary. I don't know, I'm talking to you in my camera. Wow, do you know how to say camera in French? Haha. So if you learn that during your lesson, maybe that can be a good way to practice. Je vous parle dans mon appareil photo. And to make sure that you commit long terms, you continue, you keep your motivation up, etc., track your progress. So, as I said before, you can ask your tutor, do you think I improved? and they will tell you yes or no, but it's good if you realize it by yourself. So what I suggest is that you record yourself. It's only for you, no worries. You record yourself at some point of your journey, and then you record yourself maybe 3 months later, maybe 6 months later, and for example, I don't know, you decide to talk about a day in your life. So at the very beginning, you won't be able to say a lot of things.
Bonjour. Aujourd'hui, je mange le petit déjeuner et le déjeuner et le dîner et je me couche.
But maybe 3 months later, you will be able to talk about a lot of things, but only using present.
Bonjour, je suis Cassie. Aujourd'hui, j'étudie le français.
6 months later, you will talk about your day, but using future, present, past, all of that. And that's how you see how you improve.
Bonjour, aujourd'hui, je me suis levée, puis j'ai pris mon petit déjeuner. Ensuite, j'ai été travailler. Et ce soir, je vais prendre mon dîner.
And that's how you see, well, how good it is to have a tutor. So I'm absolutely sure, more than 100%, that if you're using all these tips, you're going to improve in no time and you will truly enjoy your sessions with an online tutor. So again, I recommend italki or Plaply because that's where I'm teaching, but I know there are other platforms. Though I have a referral link, so maybe it's best if you use it, because with the referral link, well, you have bonuses, a few benefits. So I would recommend you go through one of these. But yeah, have fun. And I know that for many of you, having an online tutor is not affordable, or maybe not affordable, several times a week, and you need more practice. So if it is the case, I recommend you watch this video next, because I'm telling you how to use ChatGPT as a tutor, and it is completely free. And that's it for today. So à la semaine prochaine. Salut!